God is love, and he who dwells in love dwells in God, and God in him. A very short reading, but it says it all. God came into our sinful world as a human child to bring us this message. God is love. Why did he do this? Because he made us and he loves us. But what is love? It's a highly overused word. We can't see it, we can't taste it, we can't smell it. As it's Christmas Eve and the time for stories, I'm going to read you a children's story of mine, which looks at this very question through the eyes of a child. You might like to share it with children or grandchildren. I've called it Wrapped Up in Love. So, if you're sitting comfortably, every night Henry's mother would read him a bedtime story and give him a kiss. She would tuck his duvet with its picture of Paddington Bear tightly around him and say, "Now you're all wrapped up in love." Once she'd gone, Henry would look at the night light beside his bed, which was shaped like a little house with a light shining out of its window. And he would feel a warm glow inside himself, beginning in his head and working right down to his toes. He would wriggle once or twice to make sure that no cold night air could find its way in. He would close his eyes and think to himself, "I'm all wrapped up in love," because it sounded warm and friendly. And then he'd go to sleep. One day, Eric, his pet rabbit, became sick. His mother told him that the rabbit just needed an extra amount of love, so Henry went upstairs, took his duvet off his bed and carried it into the garden. He opened the rabbit hutch and scooped up Eric. "You need wrapping up in love," he told his rabbit sternly, "and then you'll get better." He laid the duvet on the grass, put Eric on top and began wrapping it round him, but the rabbit ran off into the flower bed. Henry ran after, trailing his duvet behind. "Henry," his mother called, "what on earth are you doing?" "I'm trying to wrap Eric up in love," Henry shouted back, "but the stupid thing doesn't want it." "Of course he doesn't," Henry's mother said crossly as she came across the lawn. "That great duvet would smother him." She picked Eric up and stroked his soft fur. "But I was only doing what you told me," Henry said. "I was only trying to wrap him up in love." His mother gave Eric a final stroke and put him back in his hutch. "Love isn't your duvet, Henry," she said. "Just look at the mess you've made of it. It's all covered in mud." She snatched it from him and marched indoors. "I don't understand," Henry said to Eric, feeding him a lettuce leaf. "If my duvet isn't love, what is?" On Christmas morning, Henry woke early and raced downstairs in his pyjamas. Underneath the Christmas tree, he saw a great pile of brightly wrapped parcels. His mummy, Daddy and Vicky, his elder sister, rushed towards him and hugged him, shouting, "Happy Christmas, Henry, happy Christmas." Henry's eyes grew big and round and a great warm feeling grew and grew inside him. "Aren't you going to open your presents?" Vicky demanded. Henry fingered the label on one of the parcels. "What's it say?" His father picked it up. It says, "To Henry, Happy Christmas and love from Auntie Mary." "And that one?" Henry asked, pointing to a very large parcel. "That one says, 'With love to Henry from Mummy and Daddy.' And my label says, 'To Henry from his big sister with lots of love,'" said Vicky, thrusting her parcel at him. "And here's a £10 note, 'With love from Grandma,'" said Henry's mother. Henry looked puzzled. "But where is it?" he asked. "Where's what?" "All those presents say, 'With love.' So what I want to know is, where is it?" Henry asked in a louder voice. His mother, father and sister looked puzzled. "Where is the love?" Henry shouted, wondering why everyone was so stupid. For some reason they all burst out laughing and hugged and kissed him until he was breathless. But as Henry said to Eric that afternoon when he took him a piece of Christmas cake, "No one would tell me, Eric. Do you know where the love is?" But Eric only sniffed at the cake and went back to nibbling a carrot. A few days later, Henry went shopping with his father. He loved going shopping. It was a great adventure, but it was a bit frightening. There were so many people and the shops were so big. It would be easy, Henry thought, to get lost. So he kept one hand tightly holding his father's hand, while his other was deep in his pocket, holding the £10 note. They went to the toys section of a big shop in the centre of town. Henry knew just what he wanted, but although he looked long and carefully, he couldn't find it. So they went to the sweets section, and Henry looked at the rows of tempting sweets, and his mouth watered. But what he wanted to buy was not among the sweets either. "Isn't there anything you want?" his father asked, trying not to sound impatient. Henry shook his head. "You know what you do want?" Henry nodded. "Well, why don't you ask a shop assistant?" his father said. "I'm sure she'll help you." Henry let go of his father's hand and went to the cash desk. He took the £10 note out of his trouser pocket and held it up. "Can I help you?" the assistant asked. "It's my rabbit," Henry said. "He's not been well, but he's much better now, although he didn't want any Christmas cake. Mummy said he needed some love, but I don't know where to buy it. And do you think £10 will be enough, because that's all I've got?" Much to Henry's surprise, the shop assistant started laughing, and the people behind him in the queue also started laughing. His father picked him up. "You can't buy love, Henry." "Why?" "Because it's free. It's a gift, a present." "A present?" Henry asked. "From who?" "From God," said Henry's father. As Henry was spreading a piece of toast with marmalade the following morning, he asked, "What is love?" "It's a feeling," his mother said, having a sip of tea. "What sort of a feeling? A nice or nasty?" "Oh, nice, a very nice feeling, a sort of warm, happy, comfortable feeling." "Like when you've tucked me up in bed?" Henry asked. "Just like that." Henry thought about it. "Where is it?" he asked. His mother popped another slice of bread into the toaster. "Where's what?" "Where's love?" "It's everywhere," she replied, "all around us." Henry looked round the kitchen. "You can't see it," his mother said, "but you can feel it." "Can't you feel it?" Henry wrinkled his forehead. Sort of," he said cautiously, but he didn't feel anything really, so he took a bite of toast. "Who makes the love?" he asked. "God makes it," his mother said. "He makes it and spreads it all round the world so that we can all share in it." "Like spreading marmalade?" "A bit like that," his mother replied. Henry squeezed his eyes tight shut. In his mind he could see a big kitchen, just like the one he was in, but bigger. And there, behind the kitchen table, was God, looking very important in a striped apron. He was busy spreading love from huge pots onto giant slices of toast. "Careful, Henry, or you'll get marmalade all over your sweater," his mother said warningly, and Henry opened his eyes. The next day the sun was shining. Henry ran out into the garden to look at Eric, but the rabbit seemed more interested in taking his straw bed to bits than in playing with him. "I think you're better," Henry said, but his rabbit took no notice. "Can we go shopping?" Henry asked his mother. "I want to spend my £10 present." "Yes, if you like." It was even busier in town than last time they went, and Henry held his mother's hand tightly as he dragged her from one shop to another. And then the dreadful thing happened. Henry got lost. In his excitement, he let go of his mother's hand. When he looked around, his mother had gone. He stared up at the people around him and felt cold and sick inside. Say he couldn't find her. Say he lost her forever and ever. He stared at the floor, but all he could see were legs and feet. He looked up at the shops, but they grew blurred as his eyes filled with tears. He tried to remember his address and telephone number, which Mummy made him repeat every day, but he couldn't remember anything other than how much he wanted to be back home. He thought of Eric and Daddy and Vicky and how much he loved them. Then he thought of Mummy and burst into great sobbing tears. The moment Henry saw his mother coming to meet him, her arms held wide, was the very best moment of his life. A big, warm feeling started to grow inside him, getting bigger and bigger until Henry thought he'd burst, and he knew what this feeling was. He flung himself into his mother's arms. "I love you, Mummy," he shouted over and over again. His mother smiled. "And I love you too, Henry." Henry hugged her as tightly as he could. "I'm wrapping you up in love," he said, and his mother laughed. I'd like to wish you all a very happy and blessed Christmas. And may the love that is Christ be in your hearts and in your homes. Amen.